Good evening, folks. Can everybody hear me? The last time I asked an audience that, there was a little chap sitting in the middle of the middle row, and he says, "Please sir, I can hear you loud and clear, but I am perfectly willing to change seats with somebody who can't hear you." Anyway, when I told my wife Liz, there she's in the audience there, that I was going to be coming up here and doing stand-up jokes, she says to me, "I'm warning you, John, tell any jokes about me and that I'll never speak to you for the rest of your life, rest of my life." Well folks, let me tell you something, that's the real reason I'm up here. Anyway, Liz is great, she's got hidden talent, you know. She's great at doing bird impressions. She watches me like a hawk. I always remember one day I was overheard her talking to her friend, and she says to her friend, "My husband John thinks he's a bit of a wit, and all I can say about it, well, he's half right there." I was over at the garage shop through the week there for my daily newspaper, and when I was standing in the queue to pay it, there was a chap in front of me who asked to sit the shopkeeper, "How much is it for a token to blow up my tyres?" And she turned around and she says, £1.20. And the chap says, £1.20? That's extortionate. And the girl smirked and said, "That's inflation for you, sir." I was I had to go to the doctors as well about a fortnight ago, and while I was driving up by Motherwell Library, I looked out and there was about 12 people standing outside closed doors. Well, it was about 5 to 9, so that's understandable. But I thought to myself, that's a turn up for the books. Well, I was in the library sitting waiting my turn in the doctors. This chap came in and he went, "Oh my Bobby, oh my Bobby," and he says to the receptionist, he says, "Can I see the doctor about my Bobby?" The receptionist says, "You don't say things like that in here. That's a public place. Call it something else." "All right, I've got problems with my wee pinky." "Okay, and what's actually the matter with your little pinky, sir?" He says, "I can't repeat it." Anyway, the other thing I always find a lot of humour in is kids. My grandson Oliver, I recall a few years back when he was 5 and he had done his first day at the primary school, and I picked him up and I says to him, "How did it go today, Oliver?" He said, "It was great, Papa." He says, "We had a great getting to know you session." I says, "And what happened?" He said, "Well, the teacher says to the first little boy, 'What does your dad do for a living?' He says, 'He's a bricklayer.' Says to the second little boy, 'And what does your dad do?' 'Oh, he's a joiner.' And he says to little Melissa, 'Melissa, and what does your dad do for a living?' 'Oh, he's a magician.' 'A magician? And what's his favourite trick?' 'Oh, he loves to stand up on the stage and saw people in two.' 'Oh, and who else is in your house, Melissa?' 'Well, I've got 3 half brothers and 2 half sisters.' Another story, a kid's story that I can always recall was the mother and the 5-year-old young daughter are standing waiting on the bus, and the mother says to the daughter, "When this bus driver asks you your age, tell him you're only 5. The little girl says, "But Mum, I'm 6. "But if you're only 5, I don't pay for you, so tell him you're only 5. So sure enough, when they got to the bus driver says, "And what age are you, miss?" She says, 5. Right. Anyway, halfway through the journey, she was standing near the front of the bus, and the bus driver turned around and says to her, "And when are you 6, dear?" She turned around and she says, "Whenever I step off this blooming bus." Anyway, the other true story that comes to mind is about my brother-in-law, John Preston. He fell out with his wife Janice for quite a few months earlier on in the year, and so it was no hanky-panky for John for a good 2 months. But he was fortunate, there was a sex shop opened up in Murrow. So John goes in there and he buys this blow-up doll. After a quarter hour he takes it back and he says to the manager of the shop, "It's got a penis on it, look." And he looked at it. He says, "Away you go, you silly fool." He says, "You've got it outside in." Anyway folks, I'm just making this short and sweet, so that's me for now. Thank you.